the lessons have been so thoroughly explained the last previous Sundays and going on back uh, with Moses and the Israelites. But just to sort of recap and get us to a certain point, we know that the Israelites, we know the story, how they were in captivity over 400 years, and after Moses led them out of bondage, through God's help, of course, the 12 spies were sent out to bring a report. I think that was Brother Brown or either Deacon Patterson that taught that lesson. Um, the report, in other words, before they've been in bondage for over 400 years, so now before they ready to go enter into the new land, God had already promised them the land is flowing with milk and honey already. Your provisions are there. But before they crossed over, sent out 12 spies. Now, of course, 10 spies came out. They found the 10 spies came out with a negative report. Not totally negative. They found the land to be everything God promised, but were afraid of the inhabitants of the land because they were considered as giants. And I just had a crazy thought when I said but. Excuse me, Pastor. But sometimes be careful what comes after the but. And I'll let you take that anywhere where you want to go. But the facts still remain the same. Be careful what comes after the but. In other words, the land was, provisions were there. Land was flowing with milk and honey, bringing bundles of grapes back so heavy that it took 2 men to carry them over their shoulders. But we're not ready to cross over. But, and of course, I'm going to give us some thought questions. Does that not happen sometime to us? We may be, I'm not going to say we, I may be just ready for a breakthrough, but I give up. But I get afraid. But I lose faith in God. So be careful what comes after the but. Now, going along, here the Israelites are. They're complaining again. Moses, we'd rather been back in Egypt. We'd rather just be back. I don't care if the land is flowing with milk and honey and all those big grapes and provisions and the land is rich for growing, but those giants are over there. We can't conquer them. I think we'd rather go back. And at this point, this is pretty much starting from verse 12 on last Sunday. It gets to a point where God sometimes gets tired of our foolishness. Sometimes God gets tired of our complaining. God gets tired of us not having faith in him. Not just the Israelite people. Sometimes if you follow the flight of us as a people and us as an individual, I'm not trying to put it on any class of people. Us as an individual, sometimes we may complain a little bit too much. I think Brother Chauncey taught that lesson. So at this point, the Lord just became sort of fed up with all the complaining after he had done so much and performing so many miracles. So at this point, he said he would destroy all the nation. And at one time, I'm going to just go ahead and wipe you out at one time. And Moses, through you, I'm going to make a better nation. And Moses, you'll be the leader. And this starts us on today's lesson. Starting on verse 13. And Moses said unto the Lord, then the Egyptians shall hear it, for thou broughtest up his people, that thou might from among them. Continuing on with the 14th. And they would tell it to the inhabitants of the land, for they have heard that thou, Lord, art among the people, that thou, Lord, art seen face to face, and that thy clouds standeth over them, and thy goest before them by day in a pillar of cloud, and in a pillar of fire by night. In other words, what Moses is saying now, this is Moses' prayer. Remember, our subject is Moses' prayer and God's answer. We haven't got to God's answer yet, but Moses' prayer is, Lord, now, if you do this, the Egyptians are going to hear about it. They're going to hear about it. Oh, they know you're with us. Oh, They've already heard how you standeth over them, and that thou goest before them by day in a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire by night. In other words, everybody know that the Israelites got here only by one major factor, and that is you, God. So now the Egyptians are going to hear about it if you destroy them all. Continuing on with the 15th verse. Now, if thou shalt kill all his people as one man, then the nations which have heard the fame of thee will speak, saying. In other words, everybody had heard. You can't leave from one place with over 2 million people without somebody seeing it. So in other words, the fame had already gone out. These people are going forward. Where are they getting the food from? Well, God is feeding them with manna. How are they crossing the Red Sea? When Moses stretched out his rod through God's provisions. He even fed them quail. These people are still prosperous. Their clothes are not even worn. God, surely the fame of God has gone far and wide. People know about it. So now if you kill them, let's see what happens. Verse 16. Because the Lord was not, can I read 15 over again so to tie that together? Now, if thou shalt kill all his people as one man, then the nations which have heard the fame of thee will speak, saying, because the Lord was not able to bring his people unto the land which he sware unto them, therefore he shall slain them in the wilderness. In other words, what Moses, and God knows everything. And God didn't need Moses' plea, but sometimes he needed to know our faith and know where we stand. Here what Moses is saying is, because the Lord was, in other words, now the people from Egypt, they're going to be celebrating because Lord, you know what they're going to say. Those people are so hard-headed, God couldn't even bring them out of there. So he's going to kill them all. So God, your fame is going to be weakened. Your power was not even sufficient enough to free those people. Questions, comments? Verse 17, and now I beseech thee, let the power of my Lord be great, according as thou hast spoken, saying. In other words, now that's Moses' prayer. He's still pleading. 18, the Lord is long-suffering and of great mercy, forgiving iniquities and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation. In other words, Moses is really just sort of talking out loud. You know, sometimes that's how I pray. I mean, the God knows our hearts. So just, in other words, Moses is saying, Lord, you're long-suffering. You have great mercy. You've already forgiven us so many times. But now just because you've forgiven us, we know you haven't forgotten the sin. You're going to pay for your sin. Now, even on this morning, I asked, I don't have to tell you what I said, but we are family. Even this morning, as I prayed, I asked God to forgive me my sins. He did just that. I trust him for that. But he's going to punish me for it too. In other words, he forgives me, but you're going to pay for it. Questions, comments? Are we on the same path? In other words, you just can't keep doing it. Lord, yeah, Harold Johnson, I'm going to forgive you. But because of your continuous sin, not only will it affect you, it may also affect the iniquity of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generations. In other words, even as you stand here right now, you may not be able to see the whole, how the whole picture plays out, but that sin is going to be paid off. That sin is going to be manifest, even if it had to come all the way down through baby Jace. Come on. That's my grandson, people. Why should I live such a life that I want my sins to hinder the third and fourth generations coming after me? I'm sorry, I don't know where that came from. Let me bring it back in. Questions, comments? 18, all right, 19. Pardon, I beseech thee, the iniquities of this people according to the greatness of thy mercy, and as thou hast forgiven this people from Egypt up until now. In other words, Moses is not trying to excuse that Israelites have not been rebellious and not being obedient. But what he's saying is, he's just putting it out there. Lord, you've forgiven them all the way up to Egypt until now. Can you forgive them one more time? Can you forgive them one more time? Now, and again, see, like this lesson must be for me. Because I'm not going to say what you do. But you ever been, no, I'm not going to say what you do. But sometimes, well, I know I just asked it to forgive me for this. But Lord, here I am one more time. The same thing. How did I get here again? Even though I come to you, humble, I'm even ashamed to come to you because, Lord, I'm asking you to forgive me for that same thing I asked you for before. But here I am. So that's what Moses is saying. You've already forgiven them all the way up to Egypt. And this time. Forgive them one more time. Because, and as I was trying to study this, it's twofold. Yes, Moses loved his people, but Moses loved God even more. In other words, Moses loved his people, but God, I want you to forgive them and get them through here because your name will lose its fame. The Egyptians would be laughing at you. Okay, questions, comments? Moving right along. Verse 20. And now we're going to sort of change tones a little bit because this is now God speaking. And the Lord said, I have pardoned according to thy word. In other words, those same words that you just said, Moses. Yes, I have been long-suffering. Yes, I have been forgiven. Yes, I have had great mercy. Oh, I have pardoned them according to those same words you just said. I am that God. I am that God. Verse 21, but as truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with glory of the Lord. In other words, but as long as I'm on this earth is going to be filled with my glory. As surely as my presence fills this earth, even if I forgive them or not, my presence is going to fill this earth. Questions, comments? Verse 22. And we almost out of here. How you say, Pastor, trying to get you out of here? Verse 22. Because all these men which have seen my glory and my miracles, which I did in Egypt and in the wilderness, and have tempted me now these 10 times, and have not hearkened to my voice. Surely they shall not see the land which I swear unto their fathers, neither shall any of them that provoked me see it. In other words, yes, God forgive them, but there's a price you got to pay. All that complaining you're doing, how many miracles do I have to perform? I've clearly given you 10. Now, he's capable of giving you 10 more, but I've clearly given you 10. I fed you. I've done all these things. You're still complaining. You're rebelling. You even rebelling so much against Moses and Aaron, you want to stone them. You're right at the point of entering into the new land, which, and I did some studying on this. Anybody out there know how long that trip should have taken? Could have taken, should have taken? You got it right. You got to start. 11-day journey, an 11-day journey turned into 40 years. And the way the 40 years came about, and please, Pastor, keep me on track, the way the 40 years came about, when they sent the spies into the new land, the spies took 40 days. So for each day that the spies are in the land, 40 days, you're going to be in the wilderness for 40 years. Each day representing a year that the spies are out there. I never knew that until I studied this lesson. And also, 40 years represent a growing of a new generation. So we're going to clean out this old mess. We're going to stay in this wilderness just long enough that none of these people that have tempted me over the age of 20 shall enter into the new land. They were wandering in the wilderness for 40 years, 1 year for each day that the spies spent searching the new land. That's how this 11-day trip ended up taking over 40 years. And it just made me sort of think, I have to ponder on this, how close are we to getting that blessing? How close are we to crossing over into a new dimension of life, a new dimension of love, a new dimension of forgiveness? But, what did I tell you earlier? Be careful what comes after the but. In other words, we're right here, ready to get that breakthrough. But I don't feel like going to church today. I've heard enough of the word. Oh, I stepped up. I'm ready to step on my own toes. Can I pull them back? But I know they're having a good time in Bible study. But I ain't going tonight. I didn't go last week, so what's needing me going out there tonight? But they'll have a good time with that. You'll see me more often, Pastor. You see how we might be ready to miss out on a breakthrough? And we can't just blame it on the people of Israel, the Israelites. The Bible tells me there's nothing new under the sun. If they were hard-headed then, of course, some of y'all are hard-headed now. I mean, some of us are hard-headed now. So here we are, verse 24. But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him. One more time. But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit with him, have followed me fully. Him will I bring into the land whereunto he went, and his seed shall possess it. Now, if I could just leave Canaan land right now and go to another land that he promised us, because we have another spirit in us. See, he promised us another land, another dwelling place. See, he's building my mansion right now. If it wasn't so, I would have told you. In other words, he's building a mansion. But you have to have another spirit to get there. You just can't bum rush it. You just can't get up in there. What's some of the things that the lesson brought out today? Long suffering, great mercy, forgiving. Those are the same qualities we need to display. And I'm through with the lesson. I'm just wondering. I'm just doing my own thing. Now I'm through with the lesson. Oh, I do have 2 challenges for us. First challenge, just as Moses cared enough for the Israelites to give a special prayer, let us try to pray for someone that we think don't deserve it or don't even deserve our time. You know how we are. Let's because at that point Moses was probably getting tired of the Israelites also. They probably didn't warrant his time. So let us pick someone that we think don't really deserve our time, but let's try to pray for that someone. And this other challenge, now this is a tough one. I tried this one last night before I lay down. Try to pray without using the words me or mine. Try to submit a prayer to God in behalf of others without using the word me or mine. Folks, sometimes we pray selfish. Well, Lord, bless my family. Lord, bless my church family. Lord, I want you to help me. So the challenge is going forth this week is let's try to pray, at least continue to do your own prayer now. But we can also grow in prayer. We can also grow in other ways. Let's also try to pray without using the words me or mine, at least on one occasion. And that way we're praying in behalf of others. Thank you so much.
Good morning. Please listen to your announcements for today. Into His Word Tuesday with Pastor Ross is every Tuesday evening beginning at 7 o'clock p.m. Facebook, you can catch this on Facebook Live or the CGMBC Conference Live. The number is 701-801-6824. In-person Bible study is every Thursday night from 7 o'clock p.m. until 8 o'clock p.m. November the 11th is Veterans Day, originally known as Armistice Day. Join us in honoring military veterans who have served in the U.S. Armed Forces. Thank you for your service. The November announcer for the second Sunday is to be announced. The Sunday school lesson for next Sunday, November the 14th, 2021, is entitled Korah's Rebellion. The lesson text comes from Numbers, the 16th chapter, verses 1 through 14. The Sunday school lesson will be led by Brother Chauncey Graham. Coming events. The UMBA Pastors and Ministers Conference presents Reconnect and Re-Energize Revival. Services will be held nightly beginning at 6:45 p.m., November the 18th through the 19th at First Baptist Church, Moore Street, Fayetteville, North Carolina. We have a card here that reads, "Your kind and thoughtful expression of sympathy is deeply appreciated and gratefully acknowledged." And this comes from the Glover family. Please remember our sick, shut-in, and those requesting prayer. And please join us for morning worship beginning today at 11 o'clock a.m. here in person or via Facebook Live. Have a great week.